We're here, we're queer, and we will continue to change the world. Welcome to Queer Changemakers. I'm your host, Justin Mezzapin, pronouns he, him, and each episode will share stories of LGBTQ plus individuals who are taking action to make a difference in our communities and beyond. Today, we have Liza Lomax. Welcome to the show. And would you like to give a brief introduction of who you are and what you're sort of up to these days?
Oh goodness, what am I up to these days? I'm all over the world. Most people, when they get on a call or a virtual connect or something with me, they always have to say, "Where are you in the world?" And so I kind of feel a little bit like Carmen Sandiego, which for some of you will, whoever's watching will understand that
I
who
remember
that
the show.
is. Yes, there
Yeah,
you
with
go.
the hat and the
So
jacket. Ooh, so red.
yes, yeah, yeah. So because I do work virtually, I've been working virtually since before it became popular, since way before COVID. I've been coaching for about 12 years, and so I've always been on in the online space. And so my business is called Love Your Body Coaching. And what I specifically do is really help high achieving entrepreneurs be successful in all areas of their life and not just in business. And I specialize in really mending the mind body connection that often keeps us stuck from prioritizing ourselves, from hindering our happiness, our potential, keeps us, burnt out, overwhelmed, starting to get poor health and things like that. So really help them try to be successful in all areas of their life. And I work with just a whole plethora, obviously the LGBTQIA communities, yes, my peoples, and predominantly the people that do come to me are usually the women entrepreneurs and who are really struggling with like emotional eating and body image and mindset. So that's a little bit about me.
Awesome.
And again, I travel all over the place. So currently I'm in my home country, Denmark, where I was born. But I was majority of my life was I was raised in I was lived in the US.
Okay, very cool. Very cool. And I love the name, Love Your Body Coaching. I feel
Hmm.
like it would be interesting if everyone loved their bodies more. Um,
Yes.
and I say that because it's, right now we're recording this in January, and a lot of people's New Year's thing is to hit the gym, to be more fit, to do these other things. And sometimes
Hmm.
it sounds like it comes from a place of I don't like my body now, and
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
want it to be more, I want to love it eventually. I just
Yes.
need
Yeah.
X, Y, or Z. So that's
Yeah.
uh sounds like an amazing, definitely an amazing name. And something that I think we all need. So I guess a
Yeah.
question for you is sort of like, what's your story? Like, what got you into coaching? What even made you choose that name of your business?
Oh,
Mm.
well, majority of well, basically it's derived from my own personal story. And I grew up in a very religious household. And my mother and people will understand this when I say this, my mother is an evangelical Christian who lives in Texas. So need
Oh,
I say more about that relationship? But growing up, it was very tough. I was the oldest of four. I knew that I was gay by the age of 10, and my mother actually put me through conversion therapy, which had a huge detriment and just did a number on my psyche, and which it normally does. And when I turned 18, I pretty much rebelled and said, I'm going to be who I'm going to be, and I'm going to do what I want to do. And went out and I had so much pressure of being, I had to be this, I have to look like this and dress like this and act like this and talk like this, and you
mhm.
have to do that and da da da. And I ended up actually marrying a man and ended up having a child, and which that isn't why I do what I do, but it's part of my story
Yeah.
and of getting to where I am now, and then realizing I'm like, this is not my life. Like I need to figure out my life. Like I'm not being true to myself. I'm not being who I'm supposed to be, and
Mhm.
sent me on a journey of really finding myself, finding my authenticity, finding who I put in a box, finding who I put away, who I was so easy at putting on a mask and playing a role and playing a part for everyone else. And I did all the things that most people you think you're supposed to do. I did the therapy. I went out and studied every self-help book and all the gurus, like how do I learn to love myself, growing up in a household where it was very emotionally and mentally and physically abusive.
Mhm.
You're not given, a lot of us aren't given a book on how to love self. So that kind of sent me on my journey of, yeah, a journey of like, okay, well, how do I learn how to love myself?
Yeah, like last year I was at a conference with SDA Kinship. So it's a LGBTQ affirming community for current and former
Yeah,
Seventh-day Adventists. So it
yeah,
sounds very much in line with what your mom might believe, or our our denomination. And I think
yeah,
that message of loving yourself is not one that our church promotes a lot. I think there are a lot of
yeah.
people who are like, no, you shouldn't love yourself. Like yourself is bad. You should love God, and what God
Mm-hmm.
makes you is
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that's what's worthy of love, not you right now. So that
Right.
that message of how do I even learn to love myself is one that really resonates. And sometimes even for me, I feel like, am I truly loving myself with this action or this thought or this other behavior? So yeah, learning,
Exactly.
that's a hard lesson. So
Yeah, it
you
was
you
a
look
hard lesson.
you looked
So
at the
yeah, I mean,
self-help books, and then what happened next?
well, I mean, yeah, I
How did
mean,
they work?
it took a little while, and back then, nowadays, like self-development and self-care is like it's like woo, it's like praised. Whereas, back in when I was in my 20s, that was like you were hiding in the corner of the Barnes and Noble, hoping people didn't see you reading a self-help book because they'd be
Mhm.
saying, "Oh, what's wrong with that person?" I'm like, "Oh, something must be wrong with them." So it was really just something I kind of just, okay, I'm going to do my own work. I'm going to do my own healing journey. I'm going to do what I can do and heal all of the trauma that I essentially, had. And I've hit rock bottom. I hit rock bottom a couple times, and it was really like I've been 100 pounds and I've been over 300 pounds, and it never mattered where I was on the scale, no pun intended. I was always unhappy with who I saw in the mirror. I was not, I struggled with body dysmorphia, and I struggled with just so many toxicity, toxic relationships. And I struggled with drugs and alcohol and diet pills and I mean, all kinds of things. And it wasn't until I really hit that rock bottom, and whether you believe in God, higher source, higher power, I really believe that God was telling me, hey, you're not going to be here any longer if you don't fix your shit. I mean, if you don't fix what's going on.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh yeah, I do. And then I had this realization that, and we do this as human beings, we do this, we go outside of ourselves for happiness, for fulfillment, to change
Mhm.
something about ourselves. We need to change the outside so that we can be happy, when really it's the opposite. We have to change the inside to be happy first. And so that was a huge, like, light bulb moment that went off and said, oh, I got to do the inner work. Well, that's the icky stuff. Like, I don't know if I want to go there. I don't know if I want to do that. But I knew that if I didn't, I wouldn't be where I was today if I did not
Mhm.
go through that. And so going through all that and healing all that, and then realizing, wait a minute, this is the magic pill. This is the magic potion that people need to know about. They need to heal what's going on inside. So it's an inside out job. So that's a lot of what I teach people is like, you got to take care of what's going on in the inside underneath the surface, that you're not wanting to deal with, that's preventing you from being that successful person that you want to be. Because a lot of times their business is starting to struggle too. And then their health is starting to struggle. And so there's a lot of things that kind of snowball when we do not prioritize ourselves. And so a lot of the work is what I do is helping them get to that point where they can be successful in all areas of their life.
There are some things that we might be like aware that we're avoiding, and there might be things that we're avoiding, but we don't really notice that we're avoiding it. How does someone go inside to even see sort of what's there so that they can say, oh, I didn't realize I was avoiding that? Even if they see something they were avoiding, it's like how can they
Right.
how do you start that journey? And then my follow-up question would be that is how do you start that journey with the love instead of like, oh, here's a thing on my to-do list. I have to heal from this and that and the other so that I
Mhm.
can be a good person or whatever.
Well, first of all, we should never be on our to-do list. We are the to-do list.
Ooh.
And so, no, not putting, oh, I need to do this and this and this and this and this. No, we are the to-do list. And so we make ourselves the priority first and foremost. And it's a process. It doesn't have, things are not going to change overnight, no matter how hard we want them to. We're always going for the quick fixes and, oh, well, let's just, I'm going to get it done. I want to get it done. I want to get it done. And it's like, what does that do? That actually sets you back 3 steps back, and then because old sabotaging behaviors, habits, stories are going to start going into play, and then you're going to fall backwards again. So a lot of the work that I do, I have people go in baby steps. It's all about very slow progression. You have to do this in a slow manner because if you don't, you're going to get set back again over and over and over again. We were conditioned, a lot of us were conditioned, especially if you identify as a woman, you have been conditioned to be an unpaid caregiver for the rest of your life. Now, it's not just with women, it's with a lot of people. Like if you were the oldest in the family, if you were the only child, I mean, it was like if you're the older child and now you're taking care of your parents, you were conditioned to be that caregiver. You were conditioned with all this generational trauma of what your parents or your parents' parents or your great great parents, we just kind of handed down this trauma down, 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 through generation to generation. So it's not something that you just wake up and you're like, oh, I did that. I don't want to do that any longer. So how do I fix that? It's a slow progression, and it's when it's like you have to take it layer by layer,
Hmm.
chunk by chunk, piece by piece. Doesn't just like all of a sudden you're like, oh yeah, I did that thing and I don't want to do it ever again, so I'm going to change it like right now. Well, that doesn't work. It's like, why did you have that thought? Why is it coming up? What is being triggered? What emotion are you feeling behind that? There's like a whole process
Mhm.
of getting to that core issue or core struggle for people. And we think that we can just go, oh, we can just go and heal it all. Like, oh, we'll just go read a book, we'll just go read a book and then it'll instantly change me. Well, we know what happens January 1st. We were just talking about this. Everybody gets to the gym. I got to do the things. I got to lose the weight. I got to find the love of my life. I'm going to do my affirmations. I'm going to read this book. I'm going to read like 70 books this year, and I'm going to do all the things. And then 2 weeks, 2 months, 6 months, 8 months go down the road. And what happens is an old sabotaging behavior habit comes into play, and
Mhm.
then we fall backwards. And then we bully ourselves or criticize ourselves for the rest of the year because we didn't do the things. And then January 1st comes around again and we do the same thing all over again. So we get stuck in this loop. So you can't just like go out and join a gym and you're going to lose like 30 pounds, or you can't just go out and read a book and your life's going to change instantly. You aren't just going to get on a dating app and meet the love of your life. I mean, it's like, it's a process.
And you help your clients go through that process.
Yes,
And that,
yes, yeah.
do you have a tip in terms of like the loving yourself in that process, right? 'Cause I think
Hmm.
that's probably one of the hardest things, at least for me sometimes, because it's like, okay, I can see where I am, and I know that it takes time to get there, but like,
Hmm.
I don't want to go through the steps. Like, I mean,
Mm-mm.
I do, but like, how can I get through these steps quicker? How can I enjoy these steps? Because
Right.
sometimes there's that. Oh, so I'm on step two of step like 11. And right, like how do I appreciate that moment?
Hmm.
Honestly, and not just being like next time, tomorrow, next month.
Right. It's all in how you are actually speaking to yourself.
Mhm.
You know, how the wording that you're using. You know, if you're like, oh, this is always happening to me, or this is always going this way, or it's never going right, or I never do this and I never do that. I mean, it's changing certain verbiage in your vocabulary. It's the way you speak to her. I mean, how we talk to ourselves on a daily basis has such a profound impact on how we show up in the world. It really does. Or how our day is affected. You know, if you start out your day waking up and you're like, oh, this is going to be a crappy day, or oh, I have this and this and this and then there's this, and my to-do list is really, really long, and I got this and I got this and I got that, and then you start to get angry or irritated or frustrated, like right away in the morning, that sets the tone for your entire day. So it's no wonder you're driving down the street and you get road rage, or you're yelling and screaming at the person at the supermarket, or something sets you off so quickly because you started your day having a crappy day. You know,
Mhm.
so it all, I mean, it can start as little as first thing in the morning, thinking about how many things you're grateful for, or just thinking about what can I be grateful for today? You know, how can I show up for myself better than I did yesterday? How can I make myself happy? Not make myself, but how can I be happier today? How can I be more confident today? How can I be more secure today? You know, just having a dialogue in your head, like, how can I be better than I was yesterday? And then thinking about things you're grateful for. Like, the instant I wake up every single morning, I rattle off in my head how many things I'm grateful for, to the pillowcase that's to the pillow under my head, to the blanket over the top of me. I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for showers. I'm grateful for naps. I'm grateful for water, because some people don't have clean running water. Some people don't have showers. Some people don't have a bed. You know, so it's like there's a lot of things that we take for granted that when you quantum physics actually states that if you can stay in a vibrational level of gratitude for at least 17 seconds, then you can maintain that vibrational level. Now, this is quantum physics, this is science, okay? Now, of course, we're spiritual beings having a human experience. We're going to have dips. We're going to be like, oh, something's set us off a little bit, or something's going to happen. I mean, it's just that's life. So, but then thinking about gratitude again, like right away, thinking about gratitude. What can I be grateful for? What can I be grateful for? You know, another thing that people can do, this is, I do a talk called Making the Mirror Your Friend. And
Okay.
I walk them through some tips and tools and techniques on how to just go to the mirror every single morning and just look at yourself. You don't even have to say a single word, because 50% of people don't even look at themselves in the daily mirror, in the morning mirror. 95% of people don't even like to look at themselves in the mirror. 95%. That's a lot.
Yeah.
So just going to the mirror. And yeah, I mean, it would be good if you had a dialogue with yourself. I mean, you could even just say, hey, I like you. Hey, I like you. Hey, let's have a good day. How can we have a better day today? Just actually looking at yourself in the mirror, you know, that has a really big impact.
Hmm.
Another science, so I'm a science, kind of a science nerd. So
Cool.
another
Cool. We love
scientific fact
science.
when it comes to that, yes, when another scientific fact that comes with that is that if you go to the mirror every single morning and you start telling yourself, I love you. For some people, it's very awkward, it's very weird, but it's like we can say I love you to everyone else in this world but ourselves. But
Hmm.
if you can start saying that to yourself, um, when when somebody is attracted or attracted to someone or something, their
Mhm.
pupils actually dilate. Okay.
Okay.
So if you're looking at
Mhm.
something or someone and your pupils are dilating, you're attracted to that. So If you go to the mirror every single morning and say, I love you, and you notice your pupils starting to dilate, that means that you consciously overrid the fact that you didn't love yourself. You overrode that fact, which means if your pupils are dilating, it means that you actually love yourself. Now, this takes time. It's not going to happen again overnight. It doesn't happen like, 2 weeks from now. It's a continuous thing. You have to consciously set that intention to go to the mirror and do that to yourself.
Well,
Now, there's different people that do those different techniques, but even saying I like you, like I like you. Let's have a good day. You know, why can't you do that to yourself? It has a really big impact on you, on your day.
oh, that's awesome. Thinking of things we're grateful for, and even looking at ourselves in the mirror and saying, I like you, and maybe building up to I love you. Yeah. And in my mind,
Yes,
it's like, oh, that sounds so sort of cheesy or weird, but it makes sense. And like,
yeah,
if the body does some reaction, then that means I guess something is working.
exactly. I mean, again, we can say those things to every single person around us,
Hmm.
but we are conditioned to put ourselves on the back burner to everything else. We are conditioned that loving ourselves is selfish. We are conditioned to not be nice to ourselves, to always go to the negative all the time. But yet we can love so deeply to everyone else and care about everyone else so deeply. But we, our bodies, first of all, our bodies are limited editions. We are in these bodies for a limited time. It is our home. It's the only home that we have. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to be evicted from my home. I want to stay in my home. So I do what's necessary to take care of my home, to love it, to respect it, to give it the nutrients, not just physical nutrients, everything that it needs so that I can stay in it longer. And if going to the mirror every single morning and telling myself, I love you, will help, I will do whatever it takes. And I have my clients do whatever it takes for them to finally realize that they come first. We're priority number one. You are priority number one to everything else in your world. Everything else comes second. Because if you there's a saying too, and I'm sure you've heard this, that if mama ain't happy, nobody's happy, which totally rings true. If you're not happy, your world is going to be affected.
Hmm. And
So be happy with yourself, do whatever's necessary to create that happiness, to cultivate that love for yourself, so that in turn takes care of everyone else around you.
yeah, I don't think I've heard that exact saying, but I feel like put your own mask on before you put somebody else's,
Right,
or
right. Yes.
fill your own cup first, and then you can
Yes.
have overflow to give to others.
Hmm, hmm.
So I love that. I love that. And the idea of doing whatever it takes. Even the weird I love you, if
Even
possibly
yeah.
weird, I love you in the mirror. When you're talking about your body as your own home, in my mind, it was like, okay, that's just the rent that I pay, right? Or the utilities. And right, you need to electricity costs, water costs. And maybe one of
Yes.
the costs is just looking at yourself and being like, I love you.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. 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 If you look at it that way, then it's like, okay, well, you need a place to live. So what do we do when we need a place to live? We need to take care of our needs. We need to make sure our needs are met, make sure that we're healthy, make sure that we're happy, make sure that we're content, all the
mhm.
things, so we can stay in our homes longer.
Yeah, I love that. I love that analogy or metaphor, whatever. When you think about what you do, what's like a challenge? What's like one of the most common challenges people have, or that you yourself have had to sort of overcome or grow towards that self-love of my body, grow towards this is my home?
I mean, of course, there's a lot of
Yeah.
different challenges and there's a lot of different things that come up, and every single person is different.
Mhm.
They're going to have different challenges than the other person. Me personally, when I struggled with body dysmorphia. So when I looked in the mirror, I literally saw a monster. I saw a very disfigured, disformed, not who I see now.
Mhm.
And when I did my own work and I was able to look at myself in the mirror, and the first time I was able to do that, I was shocked. I'm like, is that really me?
Mm.
That's me? Like, I'm beautiful. Like, I'm amazing. Like, and I had never said that to myself. And so a lot of people, the mirror is a big struggle for them. Another one is, especially if you're a parent, because again, we've been conditioned to be that unpaid caregiver. So everyone else comes first. And that's a hard mindset to reframe that, oh, no, I got to take care of myself first. And then that in turn takes care of everyone else around me. So I mean, those are probably the two biggest things is just, looking at yourselves in the mirror. I mean, there's a bunch of things, but off the top of my mind, those are the two things that come to mind right away is the mirror is a big thing. And then just really making sure that we're doing what's necessary to take care of ourselves every single day, starting right away. Like I said, again, when I wake up, I say my gratitude. I have me time. It's mandatory. Like I make me time. I'll go out, I meditate, I go out for my walk, I do what's necessary for my health and well-being first, and
Yeah.
then I take care of everything else around me. So we always come first. So
Awesome.
scheduling me time, that's a big thing too. Because people are like, I don't have time for me time. Yes, you do. You have at least 5 minutes. Everybody has at least 5 minutes. I mean, we waste so much time on social media and on our phones, and we're always like, I mean, just
Mhm.
there's so much wasted time that you have to consciously make it a priority if you want it to switch. If you want things to change in your life, you have to consciously set that intention to make it happen, or else it will never happen.
Okay. Do you have any events or upcoming projects that people may want to join or learn about?
Yes. So every February, I do, and this is on Facebook. So I know not everybody's on Facebook, but every February, I do a challenge called Love Yourself First. And I do it specifically in February because February, what is all about love. It's the love month, it's Valentine's, all that kind of things. But we don't love ourselves enough. And so this is all about putting yourself a priority. And it only goes from the 1st to the 14th. And I get on every day, I do a live, and I have a challenge for the day. And so each participant does the challenge and then posts about it in the group. And they're encouraged to either do a live or do a video or do a post. I encourage them to get out of their comfort zone, because everybody needs to get out of your comfort zone, because change won't happen and if you still stay in that zone. And so that's what it's all about, is just really getting out of that zone. And then I encourage other people to comment on those posts too. So there's a lot of comments, a lot of stuff, a lot of support. And I do the challenges too. So I do, and I come up with the challenges like a couple weeks prior to this. So I just came up with the challenges for this particular year. And I've been doing this. I think I did it before COVID happened. So I've been doing it for quite a while. And it's a smaller group. Small meaning I think right now there's only 200 people. So it's not like it's like tens of thousands of people. It's a very small group. And not everybody participates. Everybody's just kind of, some people kind of linger and they kind of watch and they kind of look and kind of like, okay, maybe I'll participate, maybe I won't. And it's okay. It's like they're there, as long as they're there, they're in that container of support. And then, I always encourage other people to invite their friends, invite all the people. And then some people think, oh, this is just for women. And I'm like, no, you can be more incorrect. It's
Mhm.
always inclusive. It's like we all need to learn how to love ourselves a little bit more. Women, men, non-binary, trans, anybody in the LGBTQIA community is, however you identify, everyone is welcome. And again, it's just the 1st through the 14th, and it's just about loving yourself a little bit more. How can I love myself a little bit more today? And then getting out of your comfort zone. And there's just, oh my gosh, there's been some amazing transformation coming out of this group. And I don't get anything for this. Yes, I do talk about, donations, because I do put a lot of time and effort into this group. There's a lot of energy and a lot of stuff that I put into that. And of course, I do offer, additional support afterwards if somebody wants to coach with me or somebody wants to join a group. I always have a group coaching program that goes on after that. So if you can want to continue, continue on with the love train, then I have that. So there's always like additional stuff that offers, but it's really all about supporting others and supporting everyone into loving themselves a little bit more.
Awesome. That sounds, sometimes I'm like, who would this best fit? But everyone could learn to love themselves a little bit more. And that's a
Everyone.
nice
Yeah.
little
Yeah.
phrase. So, and all in order to join, all they'd have to do is go to the Facebook group, or is there like a sign up somewhere?
Mhm. Yep. So they just have to go to the Facebook group. It's Love Yourself First Challenge. And it should
Okay.
come right up. And yeah. Yeah.
Sounds
I
good.
mean, we
There will
could,
definitely be a link in the in the
yep.
show notes, so it's a
Yep. Yep.
little easier
Yep.
for people to do. Connect.
Yes, I will
So
send you a link so that you can include that in there. Yes.
that'd be good. I mean, awesome, awesome. Well, I'm sure that'll be great. And I am committing to being a part of this. So that'll be fun.
Yay.
Me too, right? I can learn to love myself a little more every day. So now I sort of like to go to this other part of the conversation.
Okay.
Um, and it's my
Woo.
favorite question to ask. It's as a member of our LGBTQ community,
Hmm.
um, what is the future vision you have for like the next step? Like, what do you want to see next, based on where we are right now, 2024? And you can be big for everyone, or you can be like small to like more niche. Um, all answers are good.
Yes, and my heart just goes, as somebody who lived predominantly in the US, my heart just goes out to so many people in the US. It really does, because I feel like the US is going to hell in a handbasket, and politically, like all the things. And what I would like to see is, because I've been traveling around and I've been visiting all these different countries, and I've seen how, the LGBTQIA communities have been either affected or they're supported, or I see the dynamics of that and how they're, um, how people react or how accepting and loving, so all
Mhm.
these different places. So one thing I love about being up in Denmark is that Denmark, Sweden, Norway, Finland, Iceland are so loving and so accepting of all people. I mean, it's like, it's normal. Like, it's no big deal. Like, they're just so supportive and loving of anybody and everybody. And it doesn't matter how you identify. You can identify as a cat. They don't care. It's like they still love you because you're a human and
Mm.
you're on this planet, and you deserve to be loved just like anybody else. So if people could look into how people are treated in that respect here in the Scandinavian countries, I think that would have I would hope that has a bigger, profound impact on people. That, it's like we're all just people and we're all in this world together. And why can't we just love each other for who we are? Who cares how we look or say or dress or act or do or how we identify or how we don't identify? It's like, why is it such a big deal? Why is it so? It's so, I get so frustrated because I have so many people so many friends in the US that are battling some of these things that are going on. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm like, if people could just take a note in some of these countries, these other countries that I've visited that are like open arms, like, I don't care who you are. You are who you are, and you're human, and that makes you you. And so, yeah, I mean, I think that answers your question. It's just such a, there's so much discord and dis-ease and so much strife and so much stuff that goes, so it's so toxic in the US. And with like everybody's battling everybody, and I don't know, I'm like, I just wish people would just love each other and just love you for who you are. Because I mean, if a person believes in the Bible, it says it right in the Bible. Love everyone. Love everyone. It's like, no, not love certain people. It doesn't say that anywhere. It says love everyone. And especially if you're, and I know a lot of the people that are in politics in the US are very big Bible thumpers. And it's like, but you're such a hypocrite. I'm sorry. Sorry, not sorry, because you're saying that you believe this one thing, but no, you're picking and choosing what you want to believe and you're pulling things out. And it's like, that's not what the whole point is. It's like love is, we need to just love. We need to just love ourselves and love who we are and love, if it starts with us, then that's fine. If it starts with us loving ourselves first, then that actually escalates. The energetics of that escalates out into the world.
Yeah, and
So, yeah.
I love that, and especially bringing up the Bible, because a lot of the people who don't
Hmm.
sound loving usually use as it as an excuse as to why they don't, which is weird
Yeah.
to me. Um, but yeah, I think of what a wise person once said, that if you can't love yourself, how are you gonna love anybody else? And
Exactly. I
I
know
think
who said that.
sometimes when I listen to what you said, what you've been saying all day today, is some people don't love themselves and haven't learned to love themselves. So it's hard to even expect them to love others if they're like, what do you mean? I'm treating you
100%.
the same way I treat myself. I treat
Right.
myself with this level of judgment, of distrust, of
Yep. Yep. Bing, bing, bing,
divisiveness,
bing,
of
bing.
dis-ease. It's like
Yep.
I am loving you by telling you don't do these things, right? And
Yeah.
and that's something that, yeah, that gets me sometimes. Like last year, I was talking to a loving family member, let's say, and
Hmm.
I was talking about a queer and Christian conversation that was also happening, and it was streamed on YouTube, and I made a reference about comments, but everyone knows what the comments are like. And then this person
Hmm.
said, "Why is it always on the Christians to be the loving ones?" And I was like speechless. Like in my mind, I was like,
Hmm.
wait, what kind of I don't understand. And like the person I was talking to is, yeah, they are a loving Christian. They What I loved about what they said was it showed me that there's a blind spot
Yeah.
where it's like they asked me that question in all honesty, and like I didn't, it wasn't rhetorical, and it wasn't like, but there is this blind spot there. And I do think that part of it is many Christian faiths these days, especially the latter ones, um, don't teach people to love themselves. I
They
think
don't.
they like, I love myself through my interpretation of what I should be, so that
Yep.
if I'm a certain way, God will actually love me. And
Yep.
then I can only love that version of me. Um,
Yep.
and that is hard that is very hard, especially because a lot of churches have said, everybody else is bad, we're good, like follow us. So it's just, yeah, there are a lot of people stuck in there. There are a lot of people stuck in that way. And
Yeah.
yeah, who knows? And I think maybe that's one of our queer superpowers and
Hmm.
why we're often, I don't know, pushed aside or excluded or talked about. Because it's
Yeah.
like, wait, you're not allowed to love yourself that much, not in that way, right? You can't, what we have boxes and you don't want to fit in that box. How can we know how to love you if you're not in that box? What do we do?
Right. Because they
Um,
put themselves in those boxes
yeah, they're like,
too. I mean, it's
I'm
like
in,
keep
this is the
themselves in
box
that.
I'm in, right? Like,
Right.
come join my
Yeah.
box so we can be friends.
Right.
Um, yeah. But yeah, yeah. So I don't know. So I guess what I hear from yours is from your vision is, yeah, I guess more people loving themselves so that they can
Yeah.
truly loving themselves so that they can see what that feels like. Because I think once you know what that actually feels
Yeah.
like, then maybe you can look at how you treat others and you're like, oh wait, that actually is unloving, right? When I show up to someone telling them that they're wrong, they don't feel the love. They only feel the
Mhm.
judgment. And
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's huh. Yeah.
It's very
I
profound. It's very profound to just realize that they're like, oh yeah, this is why my world is the way it is because I'm not loving myself first. And if you can do that, and again, not put blah, blah, I can't even say that, but car
com,
put
com,
yourself in
com,
these little boxes. Yes, you know what word I'm trying to think of.
compartmentalize. There we go.
Compartmentalize, yes, compartmentalize, yes. I was like trying to think of that word. Um, when you put yourself in those boxes, then it's like you're sabotaging yourself. You're creating so much dis-ease within yourself. You're creating so much judgment within yourself. You're putting on a mask, playing a role, playing a part, doing all the things. It's like that's not loving yourself. How you speak to yourself, how what you're doing on a daily basis with yourself. What are you fueling your body with? Not just food. It's like, what are you watching? What are you experiencing? What are you bringing into your world? It's like there's so many things that are involved, but it really comes down to it. It's like if I need to love myself,
Hmm.
like that's first and foremost. I need to learn how to love myself. And if I can learn how to love myself, that energetically will impact other people around me. And a lot of people they don't love themselves. They don't, not if you're going to the mirror every single morning, or if you're waking up and you're thinking about all the crappy things about yourself, or you're going to the mirror and you're just like, oh, I look horrible today. It's like you're not loving yourself. And as much as people say that they're like, oh, well, I'm of a certain age and it doesn't matter what I look like and it doesn't matter who I am anymore. I'm just going to be who I am. But I guarantee those people are still doing something to put themselves down, because they're unhappy with something in their life. They're unhappy with something in their world. And all the people, I don't like to go into the political stuff, but really all the people that are fighting with our communities are just really just unhappy with themselves and don't love themselves. And so they're spreading that out onto everybody else.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I see that a lot. Like something I was thinking of yesterday or the day before, like those Florida bills where like if a child comes out in school, um, parents are like, legally required to be informed by teachers, or teachers are legally required to inform parents. And like sometimes what I think about that is you're the parent, right? So like what does your relationship with your child say if your child doesn't feel safe enough to talk to you about this?
Exactly.
If your child if your child is like, finally, I'm at school, I can be safe, I can be free. What is
Mhm.
what's the community? What's the environment you're creating in that house that
Yeah,
is like that?
exactly.
And, I think that is a big fear for a lot of parents because in a way, I don't know. ugh, they're doing the best they can, right? But if they're not able to truly love themselves and love their child and love themselves in ways that their child can see, because I think sometimes
Exactly, yes.
it's hard to listen to advice from people who don't take it
Hmm.
themselves. You can do anything
Yeah,
you want, but
yeah,
you're not living up to that ideal. So like maybe I can't.
right.
Um, but yeah, that would be it'd be interesting to see.
Hmm.
Yeah. Like, okay, my mind does things. So random question, right? Let's
Yes,
say
yeah.
we wanted to help people love themselves more,
Hmm.
and we wanted to like help them see that. Because some people may like think on the surface level, of course I'm loving myself, right? But they may
Hmm.
not actually think of it as like, I judge myself because I love myself, right? Like they might think that's an actual true statement that makes sense. Like what question or what idea or story helps, can you possibly share that helps people see, hmm, maybe I'm not loving myself.
Right. Well,
Like,
again, it goes back to the mirror. It's like, what's that
mhm,
conversation? It goes back to your daily conversation with yourself.
okay.
It's like, how are you talking about yourself? What's going on in your head? If you're constantly bullying yourself and criticizing yourself and saying, "Oh, I'm not going to get this done today," and "Oh, I have all these things I have to do today, and I got to do this and I got to do that and I got to da 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 da," it's like, just stop. Just stop and take a moment, take a breath, and be like, "Okay, how can I be nicer to myself today? Because I got to do it." I'm like, I'm not going to get out of this trap that I'm in if I don't just stop. But again, it's awareness. You have to be aware when that happens too.
Mm-hmm.
But again, if you just wake up every single morning, think about three things you're grateful for. Three things. Everybody can think of at least three things you're grateful for. And when you go to the mirror, just look at yourself in the mirror. Just look. You don't even have to say anything. Or you can do what, Mel Robbins does, the high five in the mirror. Like, give yourself a high five in the mirror. I know Lisa Nichols does, there's a bunch of different coaches out there that do different techniques when it comes
Mm-hmm.
to the mirror, but there's something very profound when you say, I love you to yourself in the mirror, and you don't have to believe it right away. And I know it sounds cheesy, and I know it's weird and it just feels uncomfortable, but in order for change to happen, you got to be uncomfortable. In order for things to shift in your life, you got to get out of that freaking comfort zone and be uncomfortable and do the things necessary for you to grow, to change, to evolve into the person you want to be. And if you want people to love you, you have to love yourself first. You're not truly loving anybody in your life if you don't love yourself first. So doing whatever is necessary, saying I love you. And then watch, like I said before, watch and see if your pupils start changing, because you're rewiring that in your brain. If you notice your pupils start to dilate, it means that you are consciously overriding those thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
But it takes time. It's not going to happen overnight. These things just don't shift overnight. You can't just read a book and then you're Tony Robbins. It's like, like,
Yeah.
I know I'm throwing a lot of names out here, but it's like, yeah, you just can't just, start meditating and be successful as Deepak Chopra. I mean, it's like
Yeah,
those people took
it's
time.
there's a
They took
process.
time and it was a process. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Hold on. And I like the you can say I love you in the mirror and you don't have to believe it.
You don't
Because
have to believe it right away. Yeah.
that's a lot of I feel like that's a nice little permission slip. Um,
Yeah.
and sort of what I got from what you were saying in terms of the daily conversation is maybe asking people, what have you done nice for yourself today?
Hmm. Yeah.
How did you love yourself yesterday? What
Yeah.
look back at your day, what did that look like? In a way to sort of bring things to people's awareness.
Yep.
Um, because I think that might be helpful. And that's, like sometimes a question can help be curious and like let someone else go in there whatever direction they need to go in. So it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, what are the 10 ways you loved yourself last week? And if you have a list that doesn't that only has two things in it, cool, maybe there's a little room for growth, right? Maybe
Yeah. Maybe it's a
maybe
little.
a little. Or is that awesome, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that
That's
awesome?
progress too. It's like if you have two
Yeah.
things on your list and you had zero from the beginning,
Hmm.
that's two things. That's like that's progress.
Yeah.
And even if you don't add another thing for a couple months later, that's okay. It's like everything is a process in life and you have to take baby steps.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the worst part. It's the worst part, the baby steps. But it's like, but it's
You want it
I
right
don't have
now.
baby
I
feet
want it
anymore. I don't have
right
baby feet, right? Okay. Maybe we just need
now.
bigger,
Right.
yeah, bigger fonts. And that way it looks like I'm making a lot of progress, even if it's a baby step. But okay, okay. Well, thank you. Thank you for this. And now are you ready for the semi-rapid fire questions?
Ooh, okay. Rapid
Yeah,
fire questions.
rapid
Oh,
fire
wow. Okay.
question.
All right.
Okay.
All
So
right.
first question. What is something that inspires you and why?
Oh, something that inspires me is the sun coming up every day. Like just I'm in awe of like just being in the world that we're in. Like, I mean, just seeing the bird fly across the window, like, seeing just the sun, it's like there's so many magical things that happen in this world that we just take for granted that we just don't really just like stop and smell the roses per se and just enjoy the little things. I guess it's just the little things that inspire me.
Beautiful. I think
The
it's
fact that I can take a shower every day. I love showers. I love showers. It's like that's like the best thing. That's like, and that's where some of the best inspiration comes too. When
mhm,
I'm in the shower, when I'm walking, or when I'm just spending time with myself. So I find inspiring.
awesome. It's a
Yeah.
good answer and helps that gratitude list for sure.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So next question, do you have
Hmm.
a favorite self-care routine?
Yes, because I've said it several times. I wake up as soon as I wake up in the morning, I do my meditation. Well, first of all, I think of my gratitudes. I do my meditation. I get up, I go for my morning walk. I come back, I take my vitamins. I do the just you kind of have me time, just really focus on me and like how can I support myself more today? What do I need, in my world right now that helps elevate me to wherever I need to get to. But it's always about me time. That's always and it doesn't have to be very long, but I take my time because I'm worth it and I need to make sure that I'm taking care of myself. We all need to make sure we're taking care of ourselves.
It's nice because we're worth
Yeah.
it.
We are worth it. Yes.
Okay. So, this is my first guest podcast for the year. So previously I was like, what's a favorite moment of 2023? But now it's 2024. So I'm gonna go two different directions to go, and I'll let you choose.
Okay.
Nope, I'm changing it. My word for the year is
Hmm.
it helps in the edit, so I can just be like, oh, oh, and that's where we're gonna cut that part out. But
Right.
my word for the year is co-creation. So sort of
Hmm.
thinking of how to collaborate and just like make things with others, do things with others.
Hmm.
Um, when you look at the year, what is something you would love to co-create with? What is something you'd want to create with other people?
I always like to collaborate with people. There's just something about working with other people on whatever level it needs, wherever it needs to go, however it needs to go. Just we need to learn how to support each other. And even if we're in the same niche or in the same market or whatever, it's like we all need to support each other because we're all living in this world together. And so co-creating a better space energetically during that time that we're together. You know, if it's just the two of us, then that's great. If it's more, if it's like, groups of people getting together, or it's like, I feel like we co-create in every single day. Like,
Mhm.
I mean, to the interaction we have at the market with the person, the checkout person. I mean, we're connecting with people every second of every day. So it's almost like we are co-creating continuously every day. It's if you it's the way that you don't actually have to like, I'm going to get together and we're going to create this thing. And then it's just going to be this thing. And then it's just going to be this thing. And then this thing and this thing. And it's like, well, if you look at it in like very minute chunks and little things, it's like, if I can make the person walking down the street smile, I'm co-creating happiness with the two of us. Or if I can say hello to somebody who probably never gets a hello, or gesture or open the door for somebody who's maybe having a bad day, I'm co-creating that that gratitude of like,
That
oh, that person
experience.
opened the door for me, the experience. Yes. So I really believe that we co-create every single second of every day.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Hmm. I may have more questions than I anticipated. Another, and I'm calling these rapid fire questions. I don't know why. But a different question. So let's say you have a mini magic wand, like a mini one,
Mhm,
not like
mhm.
a not like one that solves climate change or political divisiveness as a whole, but one that can solve a problem or yeah, be a solution. What is one sort of challenge that you would like to mini magic wand away? And it could be in any direction.
Mini magic wand.
Yeah.
Um, The only thing that comes to mind, and this might be a bigger thing, but really the only
Mhm.
thing that comes to mind is that um, how they do their recycling here in a lot of
Yeah.
Scandinavian countries, how they do the recycling is, and they're very passionate about that. Like this goes here, this goes here, this goes here. And I was in Iceland a couple years ago, and they reuse everything. Like everything, single thing is recycled. And if a lot of countries could get behind that, I know this is like a huge, so it's like, but that's the
Mhm.
only thing that came to mind was just like, how can we, because there's so much garbage and so much trash and so much stuff, how can we just make it a little bit cleaner? Like we don't have to clean the entire planet. Like it can just start with your neighborhood. How can you like I like carried garbage bags or bags in my pocket to pick up garbage along the way when I'm walking. Just something as simple
Huh.
as that. It's like, you know, just doing the little things of how can I make this area that I'm walking in a little bit cleaner? What can I do to pick up things,
Awesome.
you know?
I also
Yeah.
appreciate that. Like, yeah, walking around with a trash bag because, probably gonna I might see some trash and it's how I can contribute. It's
Right.
small thing. Maybe I won't see any trash and I don't have to use it, but if I do, I do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Uh okay, three more questions, I think.
Okay.
Okay, so next one we can move a little bit faster, maybe.
Okay.
Do you have a favorite joke or something you recently laughed at?
Oh my gosh. I make myself laugh all the time. Um, what do you call I think I'm gonna get this wrong, but what's a cross between a magician and a Labrador?
Mission in Labrador. I don't know.
Abracadabra doodle, something like that. It's like I'm like see, I
Okay.
totally messed it up. But I'm
Yeah.
like, I totally messed it up, but it's like something like abracadabra doodle. But like I mess up jokes all the time and I try to tell myself jokes and I laugh at my own jokes all the time. And so that just makes me laugh when I'm like, even if I can get it wrong, I still think it's funny. So
That's fair. That's
I
fair.
can just,
Sometimes I myself have a lot of I I call them inside jokes because they only make sense inside my head. But
right.
it's all good. It's all good. I smiled, and that's the thing, right? If I
Right.
can't laugh at my jokes, how in the hell is anybody else gonna laugh at my jokes?
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay. What else are we talking about? Okay, so now, is there a queer change maker who inspires you?
Um, there's always people that come up like random, like just
Mhm.
not off the top of my head, but just like I'll see somebody on Instagram or I'll see somebody on TikTok or I'll just see somebody and I'm like, oh yeah. They just what they're doing and how they're doing things and how they're changing folks and and when they have like comments in their own posts and then they're answering those comments and talking about the comments and the posts and things like
Mhm.
that, and it's not like one specific person. It's just when I'm just like really just scrolling through and looking and I'm like, oh, like they really have a really great message, or like, oh yes, I know, like one person in particular, I absolutely adore them, and they're on Instagram, and let's see if I can find them. They're going through they're transitioning right now, and they're just such a beautiful person, and I just every time I see their videos, I'm just like, oh my God, I'm like, I just love you so much. Like just and
Yeah.
totally making change happen. And now I can't remember who it is, but
Oh my God.
for anybody who's probably watching or
Yeah.
listening probably knows who I'm talking about, because they just got engaged recently over the
Oh.
holidays, and they proposed to their person, and what is their name? I'm trying to think their name, but just I've been watching, and then oh yeah, Dylan, what's her name? Last
Um,
name Dylan.
Mulvaney, the person
Yes,
who was with the
yes,
whole Bud Light,
yes,
blah blah blah. But
yes,
okay.
yes. I do follow her. Just love, love, love her stuff. So yeah, so now I'm like, now that I'm thinking about it, now that people are coming to mind, but there's just a few people that are just, yeah, I can just see are really making changes happen. And first, they're starting with themselves first. Those two made themselves happy first.
Mhm.
Like, how can I make myself happy? And then how can I change the world? So again, that's where it goes to. It's like you have to, how can I make myself happy? And once I can do that, then I can change the world.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I guess final question.
Yeah.
Is there
Yeah.
a piece of advice or
Mhm.
guiding word of wisdom that has helped you on your journey? Um, that maybe you turn to sometimes when you're in those downs and those human experiences, that has been helpful for you.
It's a combination of a bunch of things. It's like when I feel like I'm dipping in something, because again, we're only human, we're in these human bodies. So it's like there's times where I feel like I'm like, like I'll get in a moment where I feel sadness coming on. And what I will do is I will actually feel into that. It's like there's a reason why this is coming up. There's a reason why I'm feeling this. And so I need to explore it. I need to find out why I'm having this. Why is this being triggered? And then feel into it and experience it, and I let myself. I don't ever suppress my emotions. I don't ever push them down. Don't ever, ever, ever do that. Just experience them and then release them and let them go. So when you feel a dip, you know, why are you feeling that? What's coming up? Having that awareness of like, first of all, like, why is it coming up? Was I triggered by something? This is something I need to work on. Because when that happens, it means there's something you need to work on, and then of course, making sure you have those supportive people in your circle. Make sure that you have people that you can reach out to. Make sure that like at the drop of the hat, you can message somebody and they call you right away. No ifs, ands, or buts. They drop everything to call you and say, okay, what do you need? How can I help you? Because
Mhm.
I'm that person for other people. Like Justin, if you were to call me up one day or you were to message me and say, hey, I'm in this downward spiral. I need some Liza time. I need to be talked down off of a ledge. I will drop everything and call you because that's just who I am. I'm always there to support people, however I can show up. And so I would want that same to me. So, and I know that I have those people in my space that I can do that for, that will do that for me. Yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Mhm.
Ooh, thank you for so many things. So many things. And I know we could have a whole different conversation about your
Yes.
worldwide travel experiences.
Yes.
And
Yes.
maybe
Yes.
maybe you'll be the first repeat guest. We'll see.
Maybe.
But thank you so very much for joining me for this podcast, for doing this
Yeah.
recording, for
Yeah.
sharing so much
Yeah.
wisdom and
Yeah.
insight and just,
Yeah.
ideas of loving ourselves a little bit more every day.
Hmm. Yes.
I'll take all your contact information that you want to share and put it in the show notes so people can connect with you. I'll be sharing a link to your challenge starting February 1st through the 14th. And yeah, I hope that we can all love ourselves a little more. And and it's an election year, so I'm hoping that no matter what happens, we will be able to love ourselves through it and then use that
Yes.
excess love to love others around us.
Yes. Exactly. Yes.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Queer Changemakers. This is Justin, and I hope you are able to get some inspiration and maybe some ideas about how you can take action to create positive change in your life, communities, and beyond. See you next time.